Welcome back to our online class. How are you all? Welcome back to our class. We are doing revision, right? We are doing why do we fall ill in biology, the last lesson. We'll start our revisions from the last lesson. बीमार क्यों पड़ते हैं अपन लोग? Why do we? What should we do? How should we prevent ourselves? Nowadays it is corona season from last 1 year. So how should we prevent ourselves? How should we be safe from it? What is fluorosis? Are you seeing the picture how the boy's legs became? Yes, he is suffering from a dangerous disease called fluorosis, which is caused by intake of fluorinated food and water. Most of the places like Nalgonda, Medak, Khammam and Mehboob district of our state are affected by fluorosis. Fluorosis is a disease caused by excessive ingestion of fluoride through water and food. Fluorine is present in water and food in large quantity, so there is a required certain amount in which is needed for our body. Above that, if it is taken, what it causes? Fluorosis. The upper limit of optimum fluoride level in drinking water for a optimal country, for a tropical country like India, is 0.5 ppm parts per million or 0.5 megagram per. It is a total daily intake through water and food that determines the development of fluorosis. Endemic skeletal fluorosis was identified in Yellariguda, Batlapalli, Yedavalli villages of Nalgonda. Yellariguda, Nabe and Yedavalli villages of Nalgonda district are known to have very high incidence of fluorosis. Fluoride intake came from schools or from villages with high endemicity. Low endemicity causes only need calcium, magnesium and vitamin supplementation to chlorine and adolescents to prevent genu-valgum deformities occurring. All children living in endemic areas of fluorosis consuming water containing more than 1.5 ppm of fluoride would develop dental fluorosis. Teeth, they affect our teeth. Permanent teeth are affected with high, rough, opaque and chalky white pitting, and chipping of the teeth are also the same. Brown, black or yellow pigmentation is deposited on the teeth. Genu-valgum is the deformities of limb bones which are notably seen in the weight bearing lower limbs in children in endemic area of fluorosis. These occur only in poorly nourished children whose diet is low in calcium intake. How do we get calcium, children? By milk and milk products, curd, egg and all. What did genu-valgum is deformities of limb. Hands and legs become like this, which is shown in the picture. Body changes occur due to excessive ingestion of fluoride, more than the required excesses over a long period of time, not once or twice, many months. So the legs becomes like this, swollen and destroyed. This becomes crippling in people in endemic regions beyond the age of 30 years. In these places, what happened? River water is good for drinking than well or borewell water. These deformities are to be prevented by providing adequate diet containing optimum amounts of calcium in growing children. Milk is good source of calcium, but it is expensive. There are many vegetables which are rich sources of calcium, magnesium, vitamin C. Example: finger millet, agarthi, amaranath. Food. The upper limit of this is 0.5. What happens? Fluorosis diseases are of 4 forms. Dental, it affects the teeth. Skeletal, the bones of the man. Neurological, nerve system. Low endemicity is those villages which have only cases of dental fluorosis. Bony changes occur due to excessive ingestion of fluoride over a long time. These deformities occur. School children are provided milk and leafy vegetables in their midday meal. The people living in fluorine-rich areas need not use fluoride toothpaste. Even in the toothpaste also fluorine is also there. What you should do to avoid diseases, children? Drink boiled water only. Use mosquito nets. Keep your surroundings neat and clean. Do not leave water to stagnate. Understand? Eat food when it is hot. Wash hands before eating food. Wash hands after going to the toilet. Use toilets only. Don't defecate in open. Keep the lids on food vessels. Wash vegetables before cooking properly. Community issues both matter for health. If health means a state of physical, mental, and social well being, it cannot be something that each one of us can achieve entirely on our own. The health of all organisms will depend on their surroundings or environment. The environment includes the physical environment. For example, everyone's health is at risk in cyclone. But even more importantly, human beings live in a society. Our social environment, therefore, is an important factor in our living individual health. We live in villages, towns, or cities. In such places, even our physical environment is decided by our social environment. Consider what would happen if no agency is ensuring that garbage is collected and disposed. What would happen if no one takes responsibility for clearing the drains. Second activity we see, find out how your local authority manages the solid waste generated in your neighborhood. Are these measures adequate? If not, what improvements would you suggest? What would your family do to reduce the amount of solid waste generated during a week or a day from your houses? We need food for health, and this food will have to be earned by doing some work, isn't it? For this, opportunity to do work has to be available. Good economic conditions and jobs are therefore needed for individual health. We need to be happy in order to truly live healthy. If we mistreat each other and are afraid of each other, we cannot be happy. Socio-economic and harmony are therefore necessary for individual health. We can think of many other such examples of connections between community issues and individual health. What is the difference between healthy and disease free? If this is what we mean by health, what do we mean by disease? The word is actually self-explanatory. We can think of as disease as disturbed ease. Disease, in other words, literally means being uncomfortable. However, the word is used in a more limited meaning. We talk of disease when we can find a specific or particular cause for discomfort. Acute and chronic disease means what, children? The manifestation of disease will be different depending on number of factors. One of the most obvious factors that determine how we perceive the disease is its duration. Some diseases last for only very short period of time, and these are called acute diseases, short period diseases. We all know from experience that common cold lasts only few days. Other ailments can last for a long time, even as much as lifetime, and they are called chronic diseases. For example, is the infection causing elephantiasis, which is very common in some parts of India. What is the fourth activity? By neighbors we have to do the survey. Acute, chronic diseases and poor health. As we can imagine, acute and chronic diseases have different effects on your health. Any disease that causes poor functioning of some parts of the body will affect our general health as well. This is because all functions of the body are necessary for general health, but an acute disease which is terminated very soon will not have time to cause major effects on general health, while a chronic disease will do so. As an example, think about a cough and cold which all of us have from time to time. Most of us get better and become well within a week or so, isn't it? And there are no bad effects on our health. Cough, cold, running nose, something sneezing like that. We do not lose weight. We do not have become short of breath. Okay, children, now see the homework for today. A doctor or nurse or a health worker is exposed to more sick people than others in a community, isn't it? Find out how or she should avoid getting sick herself or himself. Differentiate the infective and non-infective diseases. Why acute diseases become chronic diseases. Send me the homework by evening, 6 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, children. See you in next class.